everybody. Good morning and welcome to TLC Live as every Wednesday. I'm Andrea Gomez and I have my co host Orlando Sanchez on the road. He's on the way to Port Arthur. Orlando, good morning.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Okay, well, tell us a little bit why you're going to Port Arthur and you're going to talk today to the Netherlands Rotary Club and what is going to be about it.
What you mean? What's it going to be about? I have been invited to the Netherlands Rotary Club to speak to them at lunch today, and I'm actually about 39 miles away. And Bobby Lopez, I guess he's a member of the Rotary Club, heard about the Texas Latino Conservatives, so they've invited me out to the Port Arthur area to hear everything about what Texas Latino Conservatives is doing in the state of Texas, and I'm excited to meet all of them.
Great. Well, we have a full show today. We have two guests, one in house here with me, but he's going to be at the end of the show. And also, we have somebody from McAllen, one of a dear friend, is Joacim Hernandez. But you're going to participate with us through the phone. Unfortunately, we cannot have your video, but whenever you can just jump in the conversation is fine. Hopefully, we can hear you through the entire show, Orlando. You're coming back today, right?
Uh, I'm coming back this evening because I have to speak to a Republican club in Houston this evening. So we'll be at Kalina's at Richmond and Westland this evening at 7 p.m. So
Yeah.
I'm coming back in just a little bit, but I won't stay with you the whole show because I've got to walk in about 10 minutes early into the Rotary Club. So about 11:50, I'm going to jump off.
Okay, that's fine. Well, great. Well, good luck over there and be careful with the road because apparently it's a bad weather.
Yep, that's okay. We're doing good.
Okay, great. So our first guest from McAllen, Texas, Joacim Hernandez, and Joacim is very happy that I can pronounce his name correctly, and he is the vice chair of the Texas Young Republicans. Joacim, buenos días. Good morning. ¿Cómo estás?
Hola, buenos días, muy bien. How are you guys?
First time that somebody say your name correct besides your mom
And my cousin and my
and
tias,
your
but yeah,
family.
everyone has to ask how to say it.
Okay, very good. Well, Joacim, welcome and thanks for your time and thanks for being with us this morning. I know you met Orlando a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. Orlando came down to the valley, was at in McAllen at our Hidalgo County Republican headquarters, and it was good to see him and see everyone engaged. It had been a while since I'd seen Orlando.
Yeah, so you now you're part of you're already a member of the Texas Latino Conservatives?
A member, I'll sign up. I didn't know I had to pay dues, but let me know, and
We invite everybody to become a member to the Texas Latino Conservatives and grow this family. That way we can support other Latinos like you and other Latinos that want to not only run for office but also want to keep this state conservative. So, Joacim, tell us a little bit about you.
definitely. Well, I grew up in a small town, Roma, Texas. It's a border town, a lot of biculture, uh, you know, uh, dealings, a lot of talking in Spanish. My dad is a pastor of a Spanish-speaking church, so naturally el español se me da muy fácil, and I can, hold a conversation and understand the language. So, um, but I grew up, like I said, my dad's a pastor. My mom's a stay-at-home mom, and grew up in a conservative household. We hear a lot of times that Latinos vote for candidates that push progressive policies, and I think it's more of a cultural and a historical thing. Um, but Latinos traditionally have conservative values. So grew up in a conservative home, went off to college, started working, had different businesses from real estate lending to getting my real estate license at 19 years old. Did that for a little bit till the market crashed in 2008, and then in 2010 I started another business with a friend, and it was a web development online marketing business. Did that for a couple of years until someone asked me if I would like to be part of a campaign, a political campaign, and that's where my activism started. That first one, that first campaign, it was a paid gig, it was a paid job. I was part of a county-wide campaign for Judge Jaime Tijerina, who's now the 13th Court of Appeals justice. But um, it was eye-opening, and seeing how strong um, Democrat and progressive uh, ideologies were being perpetrated by people, but the Democrats down here made me want to stay involved. So that was 2014, and since then I've been involved in different capacities, locally in our county party, locally in our Young Republican chapter, and just recently in 2018, was elected to the Texas Young Republican Board, where I was the treasurer for 2 terms, and I'm currently the vice chair. And I'm excited about everything in, locally in Hidalgo County, statewide with the Young Republican Federation.
So Orlando, you were over there in the valley, and you met Joasim, and also you've been in touch with a lot of young conservatives in the valley, and the things that is happening in the valley. It's really good with all the young Latinos and conservatives.
Well, that's what's exciting to me. As I traveled the state of Texas, Andrea, and I had the opportunity to meet Wasim, who did tell me he was running, and I wish him the very best. And we need more leaders like Wasim. I mean, obviously, whether it's Joe Castro and Alvin, whether it's Roman Garcia in Kerrville, Texas, whether it's Wasim down in the Rio Grande Valley, I'm just amazed at these 19 and 20-year-old young conservatives that are leading the state of Texas. And, as Wasim was saying, uh, it's cultural for Hispanics, especially around South Texas, to have voted Democrat in the past. But it's amazing that the young generation is educating the families, their own families, and then their friends and neighbors through social media that what the Democrats are proposing is sort of antithetical to our Hispanic values. If you want the government telling you how to raise your family and when your child can get an abortion and cut mom and dad out of it, and what school you have to go to versus giving the parents the opportunity to educate their children, whether it's during pandemics telling us to close our churches down. I mean, those are all values that run counter to the Latino tradition. And so I'm just excited that Wasim is helping lead the fight down in South Texas with a lot of, with Adriana and with Mayra and, with all the other great leaders. In fact, when we were down in South Texas and met Wasim, there was a reporter for the New York Times who just wrote an article about how Latina women are leading South Texas. And Wasim, that's not an indictment about you, but the Latinas are really taking charge down there. I mean, is that how you see it?
Yes, and I'm here to redeem the males as well. um, Definitely, we have a powerhouse of Latina, strong conservative women in Hidalgo County. They're active. They're always organizing different meet and greets, different, I guess like tea parties. I wouldn't really call them tea parties. I guess like meriendas. I guess we could call them, and just talking to their neighbors and their friends and their family about the issues at hand currently, and then obviously leading them and instructing them and informing them who the conservative candidates are. So definitely, we want to put our best face forward. So we always, start with the females, but in the background, you got someone like me keeping the nose to the ground and making sure we're firing on all cylinders.
Well, I think the leadership of the moms, we have a lot of power in the family. You know, we run the family, we are the center of the family. And we always say, you know, and that's why we did a commercial, a TV commercial, that it was the Abuelita commercial, because, you know, we listen to the moms, we listen to the grandma, we listen to the woman in the house. And if you see the statistics, and if you talk to people around, it's like, you know, if the mother or if the mom in the house, the woman in the house, say we're gonna vote this way, or we're gonna do this at the house, people follow the mom, people follow the woman. And now women are going out of the house and also just raising their voice and being the leader in the community, not only at home.
Definitely. Yeah, I will add, I think that because of liberal ideologies and progressive ideologies, um, they aim to make the male role smaller. I love my mom, and I love all women. I think they're great, but I think like it's definitely time for young Latino conservatives to kind of say, hey, you know, we we hold these values. We're not progressive and liberal in the sense of being a male. We believe that the family unit is important, and a strong male, a strong female raising children and raising the next generation with conservative values is important.
Joasim, we had Mayra Flores before in the show, and she was telling us her story about how she now is very strong, you know, active in politics, and now she's running for office. But she was saying that before she used to vote for the other party, and she didn't know better. But one day, you know, she realized that her values and her thoughts and what she believed is completely different of what she was told. So I don't know if that's is that the same story in your house, or in your house is different. Tell us a little bit about that.
Right. No, so I like I said, I grew up in a pretty conservative household. My dad's a pastor, and growing up, at, you know, at the age of 12 in sixth grade, he would not let me sleep past 7:30 in the morning, in the summer, and he'd make me get up, do something around the house, cut the yard, you know, do things like that. But my involvement came mainly because uh, I got a job, but I noticed how much road conservatives had to cover to get conservatives elected. And for the past 6.5 years, you know, we've just been chopping away at it. And it's been more of a freedom of speech and becoming a voice for conservative values so that others feel empowered to speak up. Because down here, people get threatened because all the stakeholders, all the people that hold office and hold power, they employ the majority of our relatives and our friends. And if they start getting too political, or they start speaking out on things that are happening in the community, they're silenced because they're threatened that, you know, you might lose your job. Remember who put you where you are. And 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 it's just been wonderful to be speaking out over the past couple of years for conservative values, and seeing people become empowered and emboldened to where, you know, now the New York Times and all these other national outlets are noticing that, wow, there was such a big shift from 2016 with Latinos to 2020 who supported the president. And what was it? It was really just a lot of people like me that were speaking up and were helping other people have their own voice and speak up for their values, conservative values.
Uh, well, team, it's Orlando. So now you're running to be the chairman of the Texas Federation of Young Republicans. Is that correct? Do I have the title correct? And tell us, what's the purpose of the federation? What do you guys do, and what's your goals?
Right. I haven't officially announced. I'm thinking about it. Our chairman just announced that he won't be returning for the next term, and several people have approached me, several chapter presidents, other activists in our club, but I'm definitely considering it. But the purpose of the federation, more than anything, is is to recruit, train, and elect young Republicans. Young Republicans, based on our Constitution, are considered 18 to 40-year-olds, um, and that's why we have over 30 clubs across the state. They recruit members. We've had different training courses. How to be a precinct chair, how to get involved in your local party, what's the precinct convention. Make sure you show up to your precinct convention and become a delegate to the state convention. Through our convention, members practice putting together resolutions and amendments to our constitution, and it creates lively debates, and this is the kind of thing that you don't normally learn in the classroom. So we want to recruit young conservatives. We want to train them in party operations, but also in anything that they need so that they can become candidates, run for office, and hopefully get them elected. So and with getting elected, with the training, we also have a policy committee who our policy director has been leading up, and they've been, pushing certain bills, constitutional carries, something that Hispanics care about, Latinos care about, and it's one of the bills that we got behind, and we teach our members how to track the bills, how to look them up online, who voted yes, who submitted an amendment. It passed the House chambers. Now is it going to the Senate? And then electing. Just in 2021, we've deployed to several different races on the municipal level. We went to Brazoria County, helped the Ariel Lada in Lake Jackson, Hernandez in Pearland, and then we went up to the DFW area, Collin County, and we helped out some candidates up there that are part of our federation. And that was led up by Matt Dorsey, our political director. So, we're recruiting, we're training, and we're electing, and we want to expand our reach. We want to see more young Latinos as well get involved, and just the next generation. It, the time is now, and definitely getting involved, getting trained, and running for office is what we want to do with.
Well, I want to encourage you to give it some serious consideration. I mean, I think you guys, along with all the other organizations that are working together, whether it's the RNHA or whether it's HRT or RPAC, the Texas Latino Conservatives, and the Federation of Texas Young Republicans. I mean, if everybody pulls the wagon in the same direction, we're going to be fine. But we need leaders like you. So, first of all, thanks for your involvement. And number two, I strongly would ask you to consider running for the chairmanship.
Thank you, Orlando. Appreciate you guys having on here, and appreciate what you guys are doing. I look forward to working closely as the next cycle approaches, and being a partner and a paid member. Thank you, Andrea.
Yeah, it's very important. We always encourage people to become a part of the Texas Latino Conservatives, because that's the only way that we keep this pack and this family growing and getting stronger. Joasim, you say something very important, and that what you guys are doing and what we are doing also here at the Texas Latino Conservatives, you don't get it at school, and actually you get totally the opposite. They're telling you different ideas. The teachers are not teaching the kids history. They're not teaching the kids what they need to teach them. They just telling them or passing their political ideas to the kids, and that's what we're not agree. The education is not getting better, and the media is not helping nobody. They're saying whatever they want to say, and their take sides is not objective anymore that it used to be or it needs to be. What else we can do to help people like you, organizations like yours, and our organization, and our Latino community? I always say education starts from home, and we need to do our part as parents, and that's very important. We cannot let schools to teach our kids the values. But what else we can do if we have the media against and the schools against everything that we believe it should be done?
Right. Yeah. So there's definitely a lot of one-on-one conversations that need to happen. Uh, I put a lot of weight on, your circle of influence and your own personal network. You know, people underestimate how much human connection is worth. Calling people on a daily basis, texting them, and just reminding them about certain issues going on and striking up the conversation. I really don't think that people see the value in that and the worth it has. So definitely always you know keep in touch with everyone you come across. Follow up, send reminders, send text, send on a special occasion, make a call. And that's really the way you get people mobilized. And then obviously asking them to repeat what you just asked them to do. If you ask them to go vote, hey, can you remind your family? Can you take your cousin? Can you take this person? And that's really how we spread the message. And then obviously nothing in this world, nothing here happens without money. So if we can find um, more people that believe in the cause, that Latinos are waking up and are realizing that liberal ideologies, progressive ideologies, and leftist, socialist, communist ideologies are only hurting their future. Then I think that's when we can get the message out in a mass way.
And you have a unique situation in your family that your dad is a pastor. So, of course, pastors are getting involved in politics these days, and I love it because they are leaders in the community, and the community listen to them. So, if you have a dad that is a pastor and he's a conservative, for sure, we're gonna get to more people.
Definitely, yeah. I He tries not to mix politics and preaching, but I do have some ideas as to you know um, pulling the network of churches together to at least register voters and turn them out to vote, because I think amongst the most apathetic voters, it's the people in the church, and those are the people that we need to make sure we hold the line and hold values at the forefront of our legislators and our office holders.
Excellent. So, how we can find you? How can people support your cause? Tell us where to go. What is the website? And just before we say bye to you.
Yeah, definitely. Go to www.texasyr.gop, and there'll be a donate button at the top. Feel free to contribute in any way. Other ways you can contribute is to find a local chapter, which you can find on the website. Find a local chapter in your area, join them, become active, and start being a voice.
Excellent. Joasim, thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for everything that you're doing. And please follow Orlando's advice.
I will. Thank you for guys for having
Yeah, and keep up the good work down in the RGV, and we look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks. We're going to come back down there, Wasim, so we'll organize a big old rally and get together, and we'll enjoy some aguas frescas and some tacos, and we'll have just a good old time. Maybe we'll hire a local band and just have a big old pachanga.
that.
All right,
Other
Joaquin. Well, thank you so much, and keep in touch. And please go visit us at the Texas Latino Conservatives.com. And for sure, we're going to do the same with your website and organization.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Be safe and stay blessed. Have a good one.
You too. Well, Orlando, we have our second guest here en el estudio. He's sitting in your chair. He's filling up your seat, and he is Raymond Amador, and he is a construction management consultant for the oil and gas sector and military veteran advocate. Thanks for your service.
You're welcome. Thank you. Pleasure meeting you.
Welcome to the Texas Latino Conservatives family, the TLC, and thanks for making the time. And I know you were driving for the Woodlands, Texas,
Yes,
so it's
that's
a long
correct.
drive. So thanks for giving us your time.
It's not a problem. It's a pleasure. I look forward to the conversation.
Well, Raymond, tell us a little bit about you. You know, I got your contact information through a dear friend that he's also conservatives,
Yes.
and he's also he have also another podcast that
Yes.
it's talking about politics and about conservatives. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about you.
Well, my name's Raymond Amador Jr. Grew up in Victoria, Texas. I was, as a young kid, very active, and just like any kids, I was into sports, and really enjoyed education. As a kid, I was in the Golden Crescent for the Alliance of Minorities in Engineering, and what happened was I had an opportunity during summer school to learn, different things about engineering through DuPont Alcoa sponsoring, and that really got me motivated. And I'm the oldest of 8 kids. My mom and dad have 6 girls and 2 boys.
Wow.
Yeah, well, what happened was my dad always says, he had 6 kids, then he bought a TV. TV broke, he had 2 more kids. But my dad's a truck driver. My mom has worked in fast food restaurants. Both of them have done that all their lives. So, being the oldest, I knew I didn't have an opportunity to really, pursue education financially. So I joined the military. And I joined the military. I ended up staying in because I enjoyed it. I enjoyed what I was doing in the military. It gave me a sense of worth. It made me who I am today. So I ended up staying in for 17 and a half years. And what had happened was I was in 2 really good positions in the military. I was a chief surveyor for the 18th Airborne Corps Artillery, which is the highest position a surveyor can have in the airborne community. So I was very proud of that. And then I went and became a combat instructor at the Joint Readiness Training Center, where I taught battlefield tactics in Louisiana in Fort Polk. And during that time, a friend of mine had gotten out, and he became a radar technician offshore. And he came back to me and said, "Man, Raymond, there's these surveyors. They're getting paid every hour of the day, 7 days a week." So I'm like, "No, I can't believe that." Well, I looked into it, and it was actually true. So I said, "You know what? A few more years, I'll maybe get out and get into the civilian workforce." So I went ahead and put in my resume, and I got 38 kickbacks. People emailed me back, one interested in me. So long story short, I went ahead and put in for early retirement. I got accepted, so I'm a retired U.S. Army veteran now, and got into oil and gas. The company that hired me, I was their first veteran that they hired.
Wow.
So, after 9 months, I started off just in the bottom, and then 9 months later, I became a survey project manager. So things went out, and they asked me to help them with the veteran recruiting. And, through several people helping me in the military and civilian, it made me feel like I had to give back. I had to give back to veterans. So I started, talking to veterans, and now I'm involved in 4 nonprofits. And I just recently created a program for a company in Fort Worth where they are hiring veterans, and the veteran will be on active duty for 6 months, and he'll train, and then after 6 months they hire him, and hopefully he'll be a registered professional licensed surveyor within 5 to 8 years after he gets out of the military. So it was a wonderful thing, and I have a huge network of veterans, and I've got an international network that I work with, and just connect people. And, from the Latino perspective, one of the things I've been able to do, and this is very near and dear to me, is that, I try to make a difference for one person every day, and I want my name to be represented. I think it's important that we as Latinos realize that we don't have to group ourselves as a group, as a Latinos or Hispanic. We have to group ourselves by a group of individuals by name. Let us know each other's name, and let us appreciate the heritage that we have. And like y'all had said to your earlier guest, the Hispanic community is a community that takes pride in doing things on their own, creating their own family unit, taking care of their children, not relying on someone else. And because of that, that's what drives me every day. I want to make sure that I make a difference every day, and that my name, Amador, carries weight as an individual. And that way you have individuals, 'cause we vote individually. So it's important that we as individuals vote and become a group of individuals pushing and driving America as it is. It's a precious commodity that we have. I've traveled the world, and I have seen what countries do. If there's no effective middle class, it's an ineffective country. And especially here in Texas, the Hispanic community is the middle class. And if we do not pursue aggressively to become better and become stronger in what we do in life, then we're going to fail ourselves, and then we'll fail the country.
Orlando, you also serve the country, and so thanks for your service too. So Orlando, unfortunately, is not here, and I wish you're gonna meet him soon. But what do you think about all of these things that he's doing with the veterans?
Well, I mean, I think it's fabulous. Raymond, I congratulate you and delighted that, you're active. The only wish I had is that you were in Harris County and not Montgomery County. But, look, thank you for your service. Thank you for the vision that you have. Thank you for sharing your values with us. The great state of Texas is comprised of people just like you, people that had humble beginnings. I certainly did. I came here as an immigrant seeking refuge, seeking asylum in this country. I became a naturalized citizen after I served in the United States Air Force, and I'm thankful for the veterans. I'm thankful for people like you. But your story, like Andrea's story, like my story, it's about, and it's the same story that we hear this crisis on the border, but, the crisis on the border is human nature playing itself out. It's people from all over trying to improve their lives. Of course, they're so desperate that they come here not following the rules and regulations, but they're seeking to improve their family's life, just like Andrea's family was and my family was. Unfortunately, what we're seeing at the border is a failure of our federal government, but nonetheless, this is what makes America great, is that people like Raymond, who grew up humble beginnings, father's a truck driver, mother's, in the service industry. He had a dream, and that dream was fulfilled by his dedication to hard work, his family values, and serving his country. It's the same thing that happened to me. If it wasn't for the GI Bill, if it wasn't for the aid that I got from the veterans, certainly I wouldn't have done what I've done in my life. So, Raymond, I congratulate you. I'm glad you're getting involved. I'm glad you're standing up. I'm glad you're speaking up. I'm glad that you're recruiting other folks around the state of Texas. And I want to say that I'm delighted that you're seated in my seat in the studio. I hope to meet you again. I hope to meet you soon. And I want to tell you guys that I'm here in Port Arthur. I've just arrived at the Rotary Club, so I'm going to have to jump off and go give a little talk to my friends at the Nederland Rotary Club. But Raymond, keep up the good work. God bless you. And Andrea, I'm going to give it back to you.
It's a pleasure meeting you.
Okay, Orlando. See you tonight.
Okay.
Okay, good luck. Well, Raymond, it's amazing your story. We briefly talk over the phone. This is the first time we meet in person. And you were talking about the Latinos. We come here to work. We don't expect anybody to give us anything, and that's the way it should be. What do you see this country, the way it's going right now?
Like I mentioned earlier, I've had the opportunity to travel, a lot in my lifetime, and I'm on my third passport. There are people throughout the world that have a sincere desire and a vision to come here to live the American dream. And I think what's happened with the Hispanic community is we have a generation. It's not our parents or grandparents. It's this generation right now that have gotten lazy. Mm-hmm. The era of electronics has stopped them from playing on the street, playing soccer on the street, playing football on the street. I remember growing up, Friday afternoon, everybody's outside. All the kids are outside. You know, the neighbors, if you do something wrong, the neighbors are going to discipline you and then take you home and tell your mom and dad, then you're going to get it again. You know, that's gone. The interaction of a society is what we're losing through the electronics. And you know, I do it myself. I give my kids electronics, but the thing is, I make sure they have time. I take them to museums. I take them to the Alamo. I take them to, you know, Washington on the Brazos, you know, whatever. We take them to see things. We put them outside.
Well,
And
we
let them
need to
see
give
life.
them electronics because they need to understand that we live in an era that they need to be knowledgeable on technology.
Yes.
But if you can go back to the 2020 during the pandemic, people were doing things outside.
Yeah.
There were no, I mean, it was beautiful. Many things that happened after this or through this pandemic.
Yeah, well, what happens is, you know, this era, they're learning through social media. They're not learning through seeing families
Yeah.
doing what they're doing. Because, you know, we, as a generation that we're in right now, if they fail to actually listen to opinions outside of the social media, then they get tunnel vision.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we have to, as a society, educate our children and teach them the core values that we were taught. Because without that, and you know, a lot of parents right now are pushing themselves. Maybe they'll buy a house that's, you know, just a little too much. So both parents have to work. The kids are at home. They have no adult supervision. And then what happens is they create problems. You know, so I think we as Americans need to understand we can get more. We can be more successful. We can have bigger and better. But you have to understand how fast you can do it. You know, I tell people, you know, life is like building stairs. If you get to the second floor, you've got to build a solid set of stairs to climb up to.
Yeah.
You can't just jump up and grab it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and those stairs are the foundations of education, work, ethics, you know, building character. All those tools are important. And if you don't build the stairs correctly, then you're going to jump up and you may fall.
Yeah, I mean, it's a foundation. It's not only the story; it's a foundation for the house. If you need to build a foundation for your family, and Joaquin was saying something very important. I was paying attention when he said, "My parents never allowed me to sleep more than 7:30 in the morning during a weekend."
Yep.
And you know, you see kids that they're waking up at noon, and they're staying in bed till 2 o'clock. You know, checking their social media. And they finally get up from bed just because they're hungry.
Yep.
And they go back to bed and they don't do anything, nothing productive. And you know, parent, that's on us.
Yep.
It's not on them. And they trying to blame the kids like, oh, he just want to sleep, he likes to sleep. No, it's us that we are letting them. We are the adults. We are the one that we need to teach them discipline at early age. And it's never too early to teach our kids discipline. And discipline is the key of everything. Discipline and education is the key of everything. So I see this generation, and as you're saying it, this generation is lazy. And I was afraid, and it was a lot of jokes around last year that thank God that this pandemic didn't happen 20 years from now. We don't know what is going to happen in 20 years because this generation of YouTubers, this is, I mean, where are the scientifics, the engineers? What is going to happen to, how are they going to manage the world with YouTubers?
Well, that's just it. I mean, you know, without kids understanding what's going on in the world and just using, because kids will tend to do, like I said earlier, you know, we need to become individuals and then become individuals within a group. We don't need to be a group, because what happens is these kids fall in the middle of the group and all they're doing is following blindly. So they end up in a position where they may do something that doesn't make any sense. And that involves politics too. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, you follow media and all of a sudden you're driven in a certain direction. And if you don't stop and think and make your own decisions, then you're going to make decisions that's going to hurt you and other generations.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like track and field. I mean, I enjoy track and field. And I told people, you know, if you get in front you have no one to follow. But if you end up in the back, you're following people. So other people are helping you pace.
Yeah.
And I tell people, do not be afraid to get in front and lead. Even though you may not know where you're going, if you don't lead, you'll never find things, because you'll always find what other people found before you.
Exactly. And you know, our community, the Hispanic community, we are the community that is growing faster.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't have leaders and representation. We don't have a voice in the government,
Yep.
because we can be the majority. One day we will be the majority, as the census is saying.
Mm-hmm.
But if we don't have representation, but we need to educate our kids, because
Yes.
they are the future, and they are the one that are going to run this country eventually.
Yes.
So we need representation, and we need leaders in our community, in the Latino community. And that's why we're doing this, the Texas Latino Conservatives, because we also have a program that is called Leadership Latino, that we are educated engagement in preparing Latinos that they want to run for office. And we're telling them telling them or teaching them how to manage media, how to raise funds and how to just sign for the position. But we are 1% of everything that, the whole community. So we need people like you to, raise their voice, to teach our community. But what we need to be, or what it need to be done to do a better job, like schools need to change their system,
Yep.
the education system, and media needs to change, like to be objective, and instead of just telling people vote for this or vote for this and nonsense.
Well, I think, as parents, I think we need to educate ourselves. We need to get away from the media and have discussions, and have opinions, and it's okay. It's okay to disagree. If we disagree, and enough of us come together and have a discussion, what will happen is sooner or later we'll come to some consensus that makes sense. And without us communicating, because especially the older generation of Latinos, a lot of times they're like, well, you know what, I don't want to vote because I might get jury duty, or I can't afford not to work because so
Or they said, I'm going to vote because nothing happened. Nothing
yeah,
happened.
yeah, soy Latino, nada va a pasar.
Nada va a pasar.
Yeah.
Va a seguir igual. No, nada va a cambiar.
Yep, exactly. But we in this generation have to educate the older generation and the younger generation simultaneously. And that's a lot of work. But if we don't do it, we're never going to affect change. And change starts with one person's voice. And I believe in my soul that my voice will make a difference. And it's going to be one person at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And if that person talks to another person, that's great. I had a gentleman that, I had done something for him years ago. And, 7 years later, he's like, Raymond, he said, you know what, you told me this, and you know what, it made a difference. And I'm doing this now. I have a young black man, Marine. He got out, he got into communications. He was a battlefield photographer and reporter. And he came over here, and he's having problems having a job. He was washing dishes.
Wow.
So he and I met, we talked, and now, he has a vision. He's got his drone license. And I said, look, you can go full circle back to communications, but get a technical trade to get you into a business, and then you can market it later on. So he became a drone pilot. He got a job as a drone, and his objective is to work for that company and maybe become their vice president of marketing later on. But now he has the marketing skill sets because of communications degree, and he has a technical skill set, so he can effectively talk about a company and hopefully help contribute to the growth of that company. And I try to do the same thing with Latinos. I said, look, if you want to do basket weaving, that's great. But, understand that there's not a lot of jobs for that, so you got to complement it with something else.
Yeah.
And through your conversations, I tell people, look, find a job where you never have to work a day in your life. Find something you love to do, and you'll never work a day in your life. But if you don't love what you're doing, it's always going to be work.
Mm-hmm.
And with the Latino community, a lot of us will take that first job and we'll be unhappy for a generation because they are stuck with it and they don't want to do anything different. You know, I tell people, don't tell me what you think. Tell me what you feel, because I can change what you think every minute of the day.
Yeah.
That's what politics does.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's working for me. It makes me happy. It keeps me in the fight.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for the veterans, and I feel that, you know, I as long as I'm representing my name, I represent my ethnicity in the Latino community. You know, and hopefully it will affect change, and we'll get a Latin community that will drive this country the right direction.
Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully.
We all hope.
Hopefully,
We
yeah.
all hope.
Yeah. So, and you know, just last thing is, I mean, I've been blessed because in 2019, you know, I was awarded through Heart Energy 25 impactful veterans in energy. You know, and I was one of two, myself and a Latina young lady. We're the only two out of 25 veterans in the nation to get this award.
Wow.
So that's given me a tool to be able to use my voice, and I will continue to do it as long as I can. You know, hopefully I'll help a generation of young Latinos to do more than I have done in my lifetime.
Definitely. And we need to, you have two kids.
Yes.
They're 9 and 11.
9 and 11, yes. I'm a big history buff, and so I love King Arthur, and I'm not a big fan of the Crusades, so I named both of my boys. Their first name is one of the Knights of the Round Table, Tristan and Gareth,
Mm-hmm.
and then their middle name is actually Persian, because I wanted to put the two together. So I got Tristan Javid Amador and
Wow.
Gareth Xavier Amador.
Oh,
So there's
wow.
history to their name.
Yeah.
So, you know,
It's a meaning.
there's meaning. It's just that, you know, like most Latinos, they're going to name their kids, you know, junior.
Mhm.
I'm a junior, you know, I'll go ahead and cut it there and
Yeah.
give them names that represent them as children. And they're good
Individual.
kids. Yes, individual names. Identity. Name for me is very important. I think your name is your identity. And if people get to know your name and get to know you, then they can appreciate your heritage. That's what I believe in.
Well, Raymond, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you so much for
Yes, ma'am.
driving from the Woodlands and give us your time
No
and
problem.
giving your time to help veterans and giving your time to help your community. It's a lot to do. We have a big job to do to, you know, to help the new generations.
Yes.
And I'm doing my part as mom
Mm-hmm.
at home. I'm doing my part as Colombiana, Latina, leader in the community, and be part of the Texas Latino Conservatives. But you also need to do your part. And we encourage you and invite you to be part of our community, our family in Texas Latino Conservatives. Please go visit us, our website, texaslatinoconservatives.com. We're not only ask you for your contribution, but also ask you to become a member. It's only $35 a year. It's nothing, but it's going to make a big difference in our community. So help us to help with your contribution or becoming a member. If you cannot give us a financial contribution, you can become a volunteer. You can do so much and just be the voice for your community. Also, we have a calendar events. Finally, in 2021, we're going to start again with Plática and Politics. Just stay tuned with that. And every Wednesday, we are here in TLC Live at 11 más o menos, with a lot of guests and invitados que siempre están contribuyendo con nuestra causa. Así que muchas gracias a todos ustedes por estar con nosotros. Suerte allá Orlando en Port Arthur y nos vemos el próximo miércoles a las 11 de la mañana. See you guys next Wednesday at TLC Live. Bye bye.